Work hard for what you want in life.
You work hard for what you want in life.
That your word is your bond, that you do what you say you're going to do.
That your word is your bond, and you do what you say.
That you treat people with dignity and respect.
That you treat people with respect.
Reach of your dreams and your willingness to work hard.
The strength of your dreams and your willingness to work for them.
Work hard.
Work hard.
Work hard.
Work hard.
Work hard.
Hey guys, it's Tatum. Welcome to episode 41 of the Black Girl Boss Podcast. Today I am reporting from you guys live from Miami, Florida. Just finished the Blogalicious conference. It was such an amazing conference. And in today's episode, I actually want to share with you guys some takeaways, some lessons, some things that I've learned over the last few days or of the last week, really, that you guys can apply to your business as well. So first things first, I want to talk about the importance of making sure that your business is still running even when you are not working. And I bring this up because we left on today is Monday. We left on last Wednesday to come to Miami, and I'm actually not coming home until tomorrow. And so that's a little bit too long for me to not be working in my business or for my business to not be run. So one thing that I really wanted to make sure I got done before leaving for Miami was my freebie. And it's available now. It's called Build a Booming Business, a 3-part training to building a profitable business. It's available. You can click the link in my bio on Instagram at Tatum Tamia, or you can go to my website, www.tatumtamia.com, to access it and get the training sent directly to your inbox. So this was important for me to do before I left for Miami, because as people are opting in, as people who are viewing this training and getting to know my expertise a little bit better, I'm now grooming potential leads or potential clients without necessarily doing any manual work. So, I mean, even looking at my calendar for when I come home, I have discovery calls lined up for once I get back based off of work that was automated for while I've been away. So it's very important that you have things in place where your business is able to run when you aren't. And that doesn't even mean that you have to have a staff. You know, with today's world of technology and all the advancements of technology, there are a bunch of systems and apps, tools, etc., that allow you to that will do the job of a person. And it's a lot cheaper than actually paying a person. So the tool that I used for that is MailerLite, MailerLite. I mentioned it a few episodes ago that it was a new email marketing system that I was using. I actually broke up with MailChimp and switched over to MailerLite. And what I love about MailerLite is it actually allows me to do landing pages. And MailChimp does as well, but it's not nearly as user-friendly or as pretty, for lack of a better word, as MailerLite. So definitely check out MailerLite, but that's the tool that I use to be able to generate those leads while I'm gone. Also, Buffer. I talk about Buffer all the time. I'm loaded up all of my social media content into Buffer for the time that I've been away so that I can still post things. The messages that I need to get across on my Instagram page are still doing that. And then I can just have fun at the conference. If you guys follow me, then you see I've been posting a lot in my stories about the conference, but there's still important things that needed to be posted on my page. So loading all of those things up into Buffer prior to me leaving was extremely beneficial, because again, people are still being groomed while I'm away. Also, I have an email funnel running for people who are what we call hot leads. So people who are very interested in the business or the service but haven't converted yet. I had an email funnel working for my hot leads while I was gone as well. So these things are important. So this allowed me to be very comfortable being quote unquote off for almost a week. And my business is still making progress. So my first lesson or takeaway or thing I wanted to convey today is make sure you have systems and things in place so that you don't have to be working in order for your business to be making progress. You being a solopreneur or you being the only one that's running your business isn't an excuse. It's so many amazing tools out there, and there's so many structural things that you can do in your business so that you can be able to make this happen. Now, if this is a struggle point for you and you don't necessarily know how to put these tools together to make them work smoothly, definitely reach out to me. This is something I work with my clients on. This is why building a solid foundation for your business is important. This is why having things like sales funnels are important, because you have to make the tools work for you. And if you don't have a sales funnel in place, if you don't have clear business goals or objectives or a solid foundation in place, then these tools aren't going to work to their best potential. So if you're struggling in that area, definitely reach out to me. You can go on my website, tatumtamia.com, and sign up for a call. And I would love to work with you to make that happen. Okay, so moving on. Another takeaway that I wanted to share with you guys is when one grows, we all grow. And I love that saying. I mean, there's even an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I hope I didn't butcher that, but I believe that that's what it is. And this is really important. So as you guys know, I went to Miami, or came to Miami, to speak at Blogalicious with my mastermind group. And they were on episode 38. And you guys have given us some amazing feedback on episode 38. I mean, you guys are telling us how you were crying the whole episode and how much you just love that episode. Like, that episode, from you guys' perspective, is one of the best ones. So I just want to thank you guys so much for your support. I mean, we've even got chased down at Blogalicious by people who have listened to that episode and recognized our voices. So thank you guys so much for that. But I say that to say we all went together, and before we even went to the conference, or before we even started what we had to do, we set goals and we share our goals with each other. So this is important. So if you don't even have a group of people that you can do this thing with, I would suggest that you make it a fourth quarter goal for you to get a solid group of entrepreneur friends. If not a mastermind group, then just get one or two people that you can trust that are like-minded, because it just makes it so much better when you are a unit as opposed to being by yourself. So we were in our room and we wrote down our goals for the weekend. And that's important as well, you guys, for you to set your intentions no matter what's going on. So if you're going to a conference, write down what goals you want to accomplish at that conference and focus on those, because that allows you to network strategically. So one of my goals was I wanted to connect with the sponsors, because of course I have a podcast and sponsorships is the next step amongst other things for the show. So I wanted to connect with the sponsors. And also I listened to what my mastermind group's goals were, and we gave each other our business cards. So if I met someone that aligned with Tiana's goals, I don't need to go find Tiana to connect them. I have her business card. So I'm going to give the person I met Tiana's business card. I'm going to take theirs and I'm going to give it to Tiana. Or if I'm in a session and let's say I went to a different breakout session than Tiana or Tish or Misha, and I hear something that resonates with one of their goals, I'm going to write that down and make sure I pass that along to them, and vice versa. So if you have a group of like-minded entrepreneurial friends, you guys should really attend conferences together, because this system that we did at Blogalicious worked extremely well for us. And if you don't have a group of like-minded entrepreneurial friends, definitely make that a priority for fourth quarter. So reach out to people that you may follow on social media that live in your area, or reach out to people that you met a few months ago at an event but never follow up with, and just invite them out to coffee and like fill them out a little bit. See if you guys' core values align, and if that relationship is worth building on. So let's move on to the next point. My next takeaway is that sponsors are always looking for micro brands. So it's important to be consistent in your business on every level. So at Blogalicious, as you can tell by the title, it was a lot of bloggers there. And a lot of the subject matter was geared towards bloggers. And a lot of the messages were microblogging, because it's showing that that big name sponsors and companies are looking for engagement more so than a high follower account. So if you have, let's say, 100,000 followers on Instagram, but your engagement is low, that doesn't mean anything to them. But if you, let's say, have 10,000 followers on Instagram or 5,000 followers on Instagram and very high engagement, they care about that. So it's important that you're consistent on your social media, on whatever platforms that you're using. It's important that you're consistent right now, even when you're seemingly not an influencer status yet, or even when you seemingly don't have a lot of followers, because those are the things that they're looking for. That actually brings me to my next point of stop playing small. After, I want to say, the last day, my mastermind group and I, we sat down and we were just sharing our experiences over the last few days. We were talking about some things that we've learned, and what we realized was when we looked back at our target audience and the things that we were doing in our business was that we were playing small in a way. Like we were offering some services because we felt like we had to start there, or we were offering some programs because we felt like that's where we had to start before we got to what we really wanted to do. And we were like, no, that's thinking small, because in actuality, we are very qualified to start with the higher level of the person or the program that we wanted to do. So my question, or my takeaway that I want you guys to take note of is stop playing small. You don't have those master's degrees for you to start off small. You know, you didn't spend all those years in corporate America so that you can start off small. You know, you didn't work all of those years for free or do all of those things for free and get the results that you got in previous partnerships or roles, etc., for you to start off small. So don't think that you have to start small, because you don't. That also leads me to another point of don't be afraid to do what hasn't been done before. Like, it's okay for you to create your own industry. And I know a lot of times when you first start off as an entrepreneur or building any type of brand, you're looking at somebody else as a reference point, or you're looking at another company as a reference point. And I mean, we even talked about this a few episodes ago when Milan was saying, with your brand, think about who you want it to be mentioned, who you want to be mentioned next to. But I even say, forget that. You know, what do you want to do? Because a lot of times, a lot of us who are really created to do some amazing things in this world will have to be the first one to do it. Even being at this conference, again, it's all about blogging. So I'm looking around like, well, all of you guys are trying to grow your blogs, but no offense, blogging is probably not going to be around within the next 10 years. You know, podcasting is a very, very new medium. Like, you may think everybody has a podcast, but podcasting is a very new medium, and it provides a level of convenience that blogging just doesn't provide. So I'm looking at all of this like, you guys are late. You know what I mean? Like, and then even looking at myself, having a podcast that's growing rapidly, it's like, okay, now let me see what the blogging world is doing, or what bloggers have done to successfully monetize their blogs, or successfully gain these higher level sponsorships and partnerships with these huge companies, and let me just apply that to podcasting. And I mean, I was inspired so much here. I have some plans for next year for this podcast that have not been done before. So there is nobody for me to look at and say, oh, I want to be the next this person, because it doesn't exist. And that doesn't scare me. It makes me excited to kind of show what can really happen when you just follow the vision and not necessarily follow somebody else's blueprint or somebody else's keys. As instead focusing on what your vision is for your business, or for me, focusing on what my vision is for this podcast, or what I know that this podcast is going to be, and not finding somebody else to emulate, but me just figuring out within myself, okay, how are we going to make this work, and doing whatever it takes to make it happen. So for you guys, it's okay. Don't be discouraged if what you want to do is seemingly impossible, or what you do or what you want to do hasn't been done before, because you may be the person that's going to start it, or you may be the person that's going to pioneer that, and other people are going to follow. So again, don't think small. Don't be afraid to do something that hasn't been done before. Okay, next, understand your competitors and then find a way to set yourself apart. So, Pamela Booker was one of the speakers, and she's the founder of Coils by Nature. And she was saying that when she first started her natural hair care line, this was before it became like the market was just super duper saturated. This was way before everybody had a natural something line. So she was saying that her competitors in the black beauty industry were people like Lisa Price, or people who were already at such a high level that they were untouchable in a sense, and not untouchable as in she couldn't compete with them, but untouchable as in you didn't really see them out. So she said what she did was she made sure that she was out all the time, that her audience saw her in person. So when they had a vending event, that she was there. When they had any type of promotional thing, she was there. She made herself the face of her company so that you can know who she is and why she started this business. And I think that was an awesome point, because a lot of times we want to be successful, or we want our business to thrive, but we're not willing to be strategic enough about it to make those type of decisions. Like, we're not willing to really look into our competitors to see where the gaps are so we can fill it. And this is something that I talk about in the training, the free training I'm offering right now. Every single market is oversaturated. So let's first get that out of our head. But secondly, Lord Jesus, secondly, we also have to know that 80% of businesses fail within the first year. So in order for us to be in that 20%, is us wanting to be successful isn't enough. We have to be strategic, right? So a part of being strategic is to know who your competitors are, and then understanding what their gaps are. And after you find that gap, you fill it with your brand, with your business. So that's what she did. She saw that gap, that there wasn't a level of accessibility to the founders or the CEOs of those big hair care companies. So she was like, you're about to see me everywhere. And what's amazing is she even stayed true to that throughout the rest of the conference. Like, she hung around. She didn't just speak and leave. Like, she hung around. She went to the parties. Like, she was very tangible, or very accessible. And I thought that was just amazing. And that brings me to my last point of being authentic. And we talked about developing your personal brand a few episodes ago, so I'm not going to really get into too many details about that. But I do want you guys to understand that it's important that you're authentic, and you're not trying to be who you think you should be, or what you think you should be in order to be successful. You have to be authentic. One thing that I loved about Pam was, after she sat on stage and talked about how accessible she was, she proved it, because she was out hanging out with everybody in the conference, having a good time. And we actually saw her before she even spoke. We were taking a picture or something, and she just randomly hopped into the picture and was like doing a boomerang with Tiana. And we was like, oh, she's pretty. That's cute. Like, we didn't know that she was speaking, but it was just a fun person that hopped into the picture. Then the next day she's on stage, and we like, oh, wow, that's the lady that hopped into our picture, and then even after that, she was hanging around and partying with everybody. She was very accessible. So it just shows that she was authentic. I mean, and even for us, we did a presentation or a session on masterminding, and we talked about how our bond is, how our sisterhood is. And whenever you saw us in the conference, it was the exact same thing. I mean, whether we're busting out an electric slide randomly in a party, or if we're telling somebody about whether we're telling somebody about somebody else's business as opposed to pitching our own, like, you'll see how authentic our sisterhood really is just by being around us, or even people who we meet in person. Who listen to this podcast. I'm going to be the same person in person that I am on this podcast, because who wants to be putting on a front 24/7? Because once you create that mask, you got to keep it on. And I know I don't want to do that. I don't want you guys to do that. So lastly, I just want to end this by be authentic. And that's it. So, I mean, if you guys have any questions about Blogalicious, definitely check them out on the web. I would love to speak next year, so I'll keep you guys posted on if I will be there next year or not. So yeah, thanks for tuning into another episode. Make sure you opt into my freebie and learn a lot of the gems and tools that I'm dropping on how to build a profitable business. And I will talk to you guys next week.